deeply honoured to be in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago with now President-elect Trump. And his family and his friends and his close supporters. And to be in that room, there were no press, there were no cameras, it was just a watch party, and there was food, and there were even some drinks, I think. I can't quite remember. And as the results came through and everybody was whooping it up, there was Trump just sitting there, eating an ice cream, completely laid back. But what has happened in America in the last few days is what happens when you get a political movement with a strong political leader that actually talks to the electorate about the things that they care about, and not what mainstream media discuss, not what politicians in Westminster, or dare we say, Cardiff, discuss. So it really has been a truly stunning victory, and he focused, of course, mostly on the cost of living, on the southern border, illegal immigration, and I think we can also quite safely say that on the day of the inauguration, in America, woke has died, and thank God for that. And whether you like Trump's style or not, and many don't, many find him a bit outlandish, a bit too New York for their tastes. But whether he is or not, isn't it good for our country that we now have a president of a country that is our most important relationship in the world? America, the biggest overseas investor in Britain. Britain's still, unbelievably, the biggest overseas investor there. A vital partner for investment, for trade. A country with whom we share huge levels of intelligence. A country without which, folks, we would be literally defenseless in an increasingly dangerous world. And I think to have a president that is pro-British after 4 years of the ghastly Biden is a great opportunity for our nation. I really do. Now, whether a Labour Party that has people like Sadiq Khan in it, who has waged a 10-year feud, or a Foreign Secretary like David Lammy, who has said the most disobliging things, or a Labour Party that sent 100 of its staffers to campaign for Kamala Harris. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a greater diplomatic stupidity than that? So all I've said is that I have a relationship with Trump, but equally I will know well at least half of his incoming cabinet, and I've said that if I can in any way help to mend fences between this Labour administration and the incoming Trump administration, that I will do so. And not because I support a single thing this Labour government's doing. In fact, fewer and fewer people in the country support anything this Labour administration's doing, but I would do so because it is in the national interest, and that is the right thing for me to do. Now, I was asked a few minutes ago on an American network whether Sir Keir Starmer had got off to an uncertain start as British Prime Minister. I said no. No, there's no doubt at all. He has got off to the worst start of any Prime Minister in living memory. They are a complete shower. They are about to try and destroy the family farm. Just this morning I was walking the dogs and I met the local lady from the farm. She said, we're 6 generations. We have a 13-year-old son. What are we going to do? Can you imagine the impact in Wales on family farms that have been there for generations? So they're attacking anybody that has land. They're attacking anybody that has savings. They don't seem to think that success is a good thing. They talk about 4-day weeks, work from home, life-work balance. Oh, we're so much more productive at home, darling. It's all nonsense. This country, we are in economic decline. We are getting poorer with every single year that passes. Our national debt tripled under the Conservatives. Individually, the gross domestic product measure of our individual wealth has fallen for 6 of the last 8 quarters. We are in societal decline, where crimes like shoplifting are now almost ignored, where Class A drug use is completely out of control, and yet the instincts of a Labour government are to ban us having a cigarette in a pub garden. They have no understanding of the 5.5 million men and women that run their own businesses, that act as sole traders. This budget punishes anybody that does their own thing, punishes anybody that works in the private sector. But if you work in Whitehall, if you work for the government, if you work in the public sector, your job is secure and your pension with it. These are all recipes to make our country poorer. And we've got to be the party that stands up for innovation. We've got to be the party that stands up for men and women who've got the courage to go on their own, set up their own businesses. And we've got to be the party that tells young people if they want to succeed in life, they've actually got to buckle down, work hard, and we've got to be the party that says success is a good thing and not a bad thing. And it's been funny, you know, being a member of this Parliament after spending over 20 years in the other Parliament. At the moment, they're being politer to me in the Westminster Parliament than they were in the European Parliament. But hopefully that won't last. Although I will say one thing. I do think having Sir Lindsay Hoyle there as the Speaker, compared to that ghastly little pipsqueak Burko that went before, is an improvement. And indeed, he's already invited Donald Trump to come and speak to both houses of Parliament next year, which is a good thing. But our decline, economically and socially, can be put down, above all, to one thing: mass immigration into our country, scale that could never even have been imagined. Never been imagined. A population increase of 10 million in the last 20 years alone, and 85% of that down to immigration. Is it any wonder you can't get a GP appointment? Is it any wonder your kids and grandkids find it all but impossible to get on the housing ladder? Is it any wonder that in many of our towns and cities, the sense of community, the sense of belonging, the sense of togetherness is breaking down? And yet none of them even want to talk about it. And when the Conservatives, well, they're called Conservatives, when the Conservatives even dare touch on these issues, how can they from their own hypocritical position? Wales voted Brexit decisively. Decisively. And it did it, amongst other things, to reduce the sheer numbers of people coming into Britain, and yet under the Conservatives it reached levels of double that even occurred under Tony Blair. There are 5 of us that have been elected from this party into that Parliament, and I think I can honestly say that the other 4, and you've seen, I think Lee's been here earlier, hasn't he? He's always so dull, isn't he? I can't work it out. The other 4 are really putting in a huge stint. I'm putting in less of a stint because I'm a National Party leader. And I'm a National Party leader that comes to Wales today with the quite astonishing poll figures that have been released overnight. We are already well ahead of the Conservative Party in Wales. But of course, the Conservative Party have a new leader who's picked her shadow cabinet. A cabinet of total non-entities. To be honest, I haven't heard of any of them, apart from Priti Patel perhaps. The truth is, they are split down the middle. There are some in the party that think the way we do. There are others that are Blairites or Liberal Democrats. Our job in Wales, as we approach those Senate elections in 2026, our job in Wales, your job in Wales, is for us to be the leading party of opposition here that challenges the Labour Party. And we can do it. We nearly won Llanelli in the general election. We are polling today at 26% of the vote in the valleys, and we haven't even started. So for over 100 years, Labour have been the dominant party in Wales. And since devolution, you've had a continuous Labour government. And what has it bought you? Keep it clean. I can't. An NHS that is performing literally doubly as badly as the NHS in England. Failing education. Crackpot. And I mean crackpot. Wokery. I mean, the thought that Lloyd George's former home is going to become LGBT friendly goes slightly against the odds of the man's record, if I can leave it as politely as that. Diversity, equality and inclusion running through all forms of public sector governance in Wales. Well, do you know what we say? We don't care what colour you are. We don't care what religion you are. We are not in the least bit interested in what you do in the bedroom. We don't care. We will judge you. We will judge you as a human being. We will judge you. Are you somebody that fits in with our community? Are you somebody that shares our values? Are you somebody that obeys the laws and pays your now over-inflated taxes? We do not believe in this reverse discrimination that is going on, because all it is doing is dividing the country. And that's what Labour's about. It's about two-tier Britain. Two-tier divisive Britain. And I could go on the list of failures, but is how completely out of touch they are with reality. The imposition of 20-mile-per-hour speed limits. And wasn't that amazing that that petition that was put up against it, just in Wales, got nearly 500,000 signatures? We could add to that the damage that national policy is doing to Wales. What is happening at Port Talbot is an absolute disgrace.